It's time now for Focus, and with the Paris Agriculture Show in full swing, we have a report on female farmers. 1 in 4 farmers in France is a woman, a jump from just 8% 50 years ago. Women have always played an important role in French agriculture, but they only gained the same legal rights as male farmers in 2011. How's that helped female farmers run their own businesses? Well, we sent a team to Brittany to find out.
Early morning kiss from Lemonade, the cow. She's on her way to get milked, along with the rest of the herd, 110 animals. In the meantime, the Saint-Jean family is getting ready for an action-packed day. Cécile is 29. She's a mother of 2, and she's also a farm manager, in charge of 150 hectares of land.
We have to juggle between activities at the farm, the children, and going in and out of school. Sometimes the days are hectic, sometimes they're not. It depends on how we organise ourselves during the week.
As the sun rises upon Brittany, Cécile heads to work and joins her 3 other associates, her husband and her neighbours on the verge of retirement. They earn the same salary, €1,200 a month, and share the tasks around the farm.
Women do chores that men don't like, and vice versa. Anything regarding the fields, women won't go there. That's more our thing. But milking cows, dealing with paperwork, that's something that women are more likely to do.
Cécile is indeed in charge of milking. Her cattle produces more than 2,000 litres of milk a day. That's twice as much as the national average. But her efforts come at a price.
Repeating the same gesture over and over again is hard work. I'm still young, so I'm all right. But for older women who are ending their careers, it's tough to always do the same thing. It's not easy.
Another difficulty, making sure her cows are healthy. As well as milk, Cécile sells veal. And when her calves are sick, she's found a way to reduce costs to cure them.
There's been a lot of rain and fog lately, and this calf has caught a respiratory infection. So instead of giving him antibiotics, I give him some essential oils with bay leaves.
Like Cécile, less than a third of farm managers are women. They deal with paperwork, manage accounts, and more importantly, they gained in 2011 the same status as their male counterparts, with equal rights and ownership shares.
It's important for us to have access to that status, because my mother, for example, worked on the farm in the 90s, and she wasn't officially recognised as a farm manager. She was simply seen as my father's wife. So she didn't get a pension scheme. She was treated unfairly, even though she worked as hard as me on the farm.
Faced with the pork crisis, Cécile's parents were in too much debt and eventually gave up farming. But that didn't discourage her. She's now helping younger farmers fight for better working conditions.
We're going to a major regional meeting to think about what we could improve, what we could do to keep helping the younger generations set up their business in good conditions.
That day, Cécile met with other farmers, experts and bankers at the Chamber of Agriculture. On the menu, EU funds and France's environmental rules that are more strict than in the rest of Europe.
It's costly for young farmers because it's an unfair trading practice. Other neighbouring countries like Spain or Germany don't have the same constraints as us. So we all produce the same goods, but not at the same production costs.
Despite the difficulties, Cécile is determined to tackle all the hurdles in the sector. She recently went to the Agriculture Ministry in Paris, hoping that a new law, promised by the government, will boost farmers' revenues.
Right, let's head across the channel now and speak to Gaëlle Greed. She's a beef farmer and the co-founder of Ladies in Beef. Hello, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, first of all, how are female farmers different to male farmers?
Well, I don't think there is a difference. I just think that it's actually about ability, your brain, and it's no longer the case of physical strength. It's also about technical knowledge and being a businesswoman.
So female farmers don't face any more difficulties than their male counterparts?
I think we face difficulties in perhaps the perception that it's still a man's world, that it's dominated by male farmers. But we're actually seeing quite significant change here in the UK. And there's about 26,000 farmers, female farmers. It's about 1 in 5. It's perhaps not as strong as France, but it's changing. And it's changing quite rapidly.
And what about their status? As we heard in our report before this interview, here in France, female farmers weren't given the same legal rights as their male counterparts until 2011. What's the situation like in the UK?
Well, I can only speak about my own situation because I am the 4th generation in our farming family. I'm the first woman. And I actually succeeded to a 1950s succession tenancy. So I was the first succession after my father. And of course, he's my late farmer, but he didn't wish me to farm. However, I was quite determined. And so I haven't quite experienced that level of prejudice or actually even not being legally entitled to farm. And now we have the 5th generation on our farm. My son.
Speaking of which, we were recently saying on this programme on Focus that in Italy, for example, where there's high unemployment among young people, a lot of them are going now to the countryside and starting businesses. Do you find that there's a lot more enthusiasm amongst young people for the farming world in the UK?
Absolutely, and I can only experience it firsthand. I mean, we've been watching quite a lot of YouTube videos, global farming practice. It's opened up the ability to see how you could do things differently on your farm, and actually the young are really leading that. And they're much more flexible. They're adaptive to change. They see opportunity. And I think that's why we're seeing many more women coming into the industry. And instead of it being perhaps dominated by young men, we're seeing women who are starting to play their part in all sectors of the industry.
And what's your advice to a woman setting out in this area of work?
Well, first of all, choose it as a career choice. Don't choose it as a fallback position. Actually seek out other women who are running their own farms because they will be pretty supportive to you. And I think the other advice I would give is be flexible. Career opportunities within the industry come up sometimes in the most unexpected places. So be aware and just seize the opportunity. Don't be fearful of not being good enough to be within this sector. Women can do it and do it really ably and well.
Do you feel, though, that your sector has the full support of the government? Is there anything you would like the UK government to do to help you in your business or even for Brussels to do for farmers across Europe?
Well, I would agree with you. I think it starts really at the top politically. But we're actually seeing within our government departments, we have a new chief vet who's a woman, extremely able, appointed for her capability. The first woman in the history of the National Farmers Union in 110 years, Minette Batters, the co-founder of Ladies in Beef, has been appointed as our president. That's a big game changer. There for her ability, she will inspire and empower. So I think that a combination of political and also grassroots, and I think that's about networks, because rural isolation can also have an impact. It's not just about poor internet services, which we're struggling with, certainly in the area that I farm in, but actually it's about networks on the ground, because rural isolation can also be part of this problem.
All right. Well, thank you very much indeed for your time and your insight. Julie Greed joining us there from the UK for today's Focus. All right, let's go to a break. I'll be back at the top of the hour with a full news roundup.